Greetings, brothers and sisters in Christ. On August 19th, we celebrate the 20th Sunday of Ordinary Time. We continue with John's discourse on the bread of life. And one of my favorite word plays in all the scriptures comes in play in today's reading, in verse 54 actually. You see, up to this point, Jesus has been talking about how we must eat his body and drink his blood. And the Greek word that he uses for that is a word phago, which refers to the way in which humans eat, or the way that we consume food. And then some of the Jews challenged him on this and said, do you really mean that we eat your bread, eat your body, and drink your blood? Or is that just a symbolic, metaphorical meaning? And Jesus could have backed up at this point, but instead he pushes forward. He talks and he uses a different Greek word to describe eating and drinking. It's still translated as eat, but the actual Greek word is the word trogo, which literally means to chew or to munch or to gnaw. And it's the word that you use for an animal when an animal is eating food. They're chewing and munching on the food. This is a very animal kind of like activity. And Jesus says, that's what you must do with my body and my blood. So things are going to get messy. And we find next week that for many disciples, this was way too much for them. They could not take it. So what's the point of all of that? Jesus says, truly, I am present here. And truly, I want to be in you and in your life. This is the basic of the real presence belief in Catholics. Jesus is really present, body, blood, soul, divinity in those little species of bread and wine. There's another part of the real presence that's important too, and that's our part in it. We must also be really present to the presence of Christ who comes to become food for us so that we can chew and munch and gnaw and drink and somehow get him into our life. So I think about if I go to visit Grandpa, and while I'm there, I just play video games all day, and I never interact with Grandpa, I have failed to be really present to Grandpa. And something in that relationship was lacking. So when you and I come to Mass, I think we're called to be as really present as Christ is really present for us. Christ comes to humbly give himself to us, put himself in a form where he can be consumed by us. He wants to enter your life, and he wants to enter my life. I understand this by Saint Pope John Paul II, who talks about the law of the gift. Christ gives himself to us. The law of the gift simply says that your being increases in the measure in which you give it away. When you give away love, love increases in you. When you give away joy, joy increases in you. When you give away love completely, love is multiplied completely in you. And our image for that is Jesus Christ, who gives himself completely to us every time we come to the Mass. So think about that gift. You and I get to participate in it. And then we are called to become what we have received. And we try to become like him. We try to give our lives away in great service and humility to others. So come to Mass this weekend, receive him.